The ISL is it means the International Swimming League, and it's a new professional swimming league, which has been it's basically been set up to try and help make swimming professional. Historically, there is obviously just major meets every year, from the World Championships, Olympic Games, Commonwealth Games, and outside of that, there's been a World Cup series. I mean, there's meets that have been there for years, and things have never changed. And I think I know to take swimming to a new level, it needs to become professional, where swimmers are earning. They're not just being paid by the national governing body, because that's the only way they earn money outside of sponsorship, to swim. So the ISL the first season was 8 teams, 4 American, 4 European, and they competed in 3 different competitions on each of those continents. And the top 4 teams, 2 European, 2 American, went to the final in Las Vegas. The winners were Energy Standard. Second was the London Raw. But this year, what's happening is we're all going to go to Budapest because of obviously COVID and everything else that's going on in the world. He's now bringing all the swimmers to one place, to let's call it a swimming bubble. So there's now 10 teams. You've got the 4 original teams from Europe, 4 original teams from America, another team from Tokyo called the Tokyo Frogs. It might be the Frog Kings, actually, Tokyo Frog Kings, I think. And the Toronto, I'm going to call them the Toronto Knights, because I haven't done my research. And there's now 10 teams.
Toronto Knights.
I think it's Toronto Knights. I might have made that up. It just sounds good. That might be an ice hockey team for all I know. So there's now going to be 10 teams. So let's say there's roughly between 20 and 25 swimmers on each team. They're all going to come to Hungary. And then what happens is a match, it's called a match, is over 2 days. So 4 teams will compete against each other in all the disciplines over a Friday and a Saturday, day 1, day 2, and they win points. And the best team, we're going to be, let's say, for example, who wins the most points gets 4 points, second 3 points, third 2 points, last 1 point. And then there'll be the next 2 days will be 4 different teams. They do the same thing. The next week, 4 different teams, 4 different teams. Some of them will compete against each other multiple times. And then at the end, there'll be the top 4 teams out of the 10 teams over all these competitions that will compete against each other in the final to see who is ISL, the International Swimming League champions for the 2nd year running. But the point system is kind of interesting because it's not straightforward. It's straightforward in terms of, how do I explain? Oh, okay, so there's 8 people in the race. The winner will get 9 points. Second will get 7. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So if you win, you get a bonus point, for argument's sake. There is a sub-rule to that, which is there's a standard time. This is going to get really complicated now. There's a standard time that every swimmer has to meet. If they don't meet that time, their points can be given to a swimmer that does a bonus time, whatever time that is. So he'll be awarded extra bonus points. For relays, there's double points. And for the skins event, which if any of you don't understand the skins event, it is where 8 swimmers start. They race, the top 4 will go through to the next round. So 4 people get dropped. But 3 minutes later, those 4 race again. The bottom 2 get dropped again. The best 2 goes through to the final. 3 minutes later, they race again. There'll be a winner. There'll be second, there'll be third, there'll be fourth. And those points are then treble points. And the interesting thing about that this year is, which I think is more fair, is that I don't know how it's decided, but it's not on freestyle. It can be decided, it can be any stroke. So if the London Raw, for argument's sake, have the choice, they go, this is going to be breaststroke, they've got Adam Peating. So it kind of like can play in other teams' favours. It's not just going to favour, for argument's sake, Caleb Dressel, Flo Manadou. There we go. There's a bit more to it, but that was quite a lot.
That's exciting. So tell us, who are you most looking forward to seeing swimming for the next?
Some of the world's best swimmers will not be there, but that majority are going to be there. So the big matchup last year in the men's side, seeing Caleb Dressel. I mean, he was a standout swimmer last year. He's the fastest swimmer in the world at the moment. But seeing Caleb Dressel go up against Florent Manadou from France, Morozov from Russia, but he's not swimming for Russia, swimming for an American team. Actually, no, he's swimming for the Hungarian team, the Iron Hungarian team. And then Ben Proud, Britain's Ben Proud, he'll be in and around there. The problem that Ben has is when he does one swim, he's a little bit like me. He's gone for the second swim, he's knackered. So it's whether he can get through the first round to get through the second round and so on and so forth. But the men's sprint events, I love the skins. What else? On the women's side, Sarah Sjostrom was a standout swimmer last year. Seeing her go again. She won't have the Campbell sisters this time because they're not coming from Australia. Not many Australians are coming simply because the Australian Swimming Federation has said, if you go, we won't insure you. So they basically didn't want them to go. But every other country has been sort of very supportive and proactive in helping their swimmers get there and helping them whatever needs they have.
Fantastic.
But who else is going to be there that I was interested in? Chad Leclos, South African Chad Leclos. He dominated the fly events last year, but was pushed by Caleb Dressel, Morozov, Milak from Hungary. It's kind of interesting also because last year we knew everyone was on form. This year there's been a break. Everyone's had a break, obviously, some more than others. But also there's been no competition, so we don't know where anybody's at. So it might be, some people might be on complete bad form and others might just find their mojo.
Be very interesting. I think, what's the start date? I think 16th.
It starts on the, what's next Friday? I think it's the 15th or 16th next Friday. I think it's 15th, isn't it? Next Friday.
16th.
Yeah.
You know more than I do.
There you go.
You should be working on it.
And it's the Toronto Titans. There you go, Toronto Titans. You won't forget that now.
The Toronto Titans. I didn't think. What did I say? The Kings.
Kings. Yeah.
Kings.
Well,
No, I said Knights. I said Toronto
Knights.
So I think the interesting thing on this, right, is as you were saying that because you don't know where people are, in their training and how they've been performing, so it's going to add that really different element to it, and it's going to be quite edgy because of that.
There's going to be a lot of uncertainty, I'm sure. Ultimately, there's 2 new teams coming in. The teams that we had last year have kind of been diluted a little bit. Some swimmers haven't come. Like London Raw last year, the women's team was just phenomenal, but they've lost all their Australians, and on the men's team as well. So London Raw is probably, on paper, was the strongest team last year. This year, I'm not saying they're the weakest, but they're definitely not the strongest. I'm not sure what Japan's going to bring in. I'm pretty sure that Japan's team, which is the Frog Kings, am I right with that one? They are going to, most of the Japanese swimming teams are going to be on that team, and the Japanese swim team's great. They've got great quality. So interesting to see who they bring across, but also what new names we might see. And that's the other thing. What I love about this is we do see some new faces. Last year, I was blown away by how Duncan Scott swam. I mean, he swam for London Raw, but he just had a breakthrough year, as did Freya Anderson. I've been banging on about her for the last couple of years, and she had the frame but never had the strength to go with it, and now she's got stronger. Now she's swimming faster, and she looks so much more powerful in the water. So I'm looking forward to seeing her as well at the same time. But again, I don't know what form are they going to be on. The other thing is,
I guess a question mark is it's the form that they're going to be on, how much training they've been able to do. Last year when the ISL was run, it was run over a number of sessions, so you had time away, whereas this is a single block, isn't it? So you're there together, so it's a longer period of competition, and I don't think there's ever been a consecutive period of competition like this where they're all away doing that training and competing. The thing I could compare it to would be the World Cup series when we had that. So when I used to swim, there'd be one in London 1 week. A couple of days later, we could be in Stockholm. A couple of days later, we could be in Finland. Then we could be in Germany, and that was very intense. I mean, I loved it because I'm a sprinter. That was very, very intense. So the only thing this is similar to that in that sense, but this is not about the individual. This is about the team. But you're right. How much training have people done? I don't know. How much are people going to rest for it? I don't know. All I know is last year, everyone was up. I mean, they'll be up for it, but everyone was on form last year. I don't know what form people are going to bring into it this year. All I know is, having been an athlete myself, no matter what shape you're in or what form you're on, you don't want to be beaten. So, and that don't just go for the big guns. That goes for the ones that are below them who are used to winning everything in their country. All of a sudden, they come up against the Americans, not the Australians, but the Japanese and the Russians. I mean, the best thing about sport and sport at an elite level is testing yourself against the best in the world. So
We hopefully will see some great performances, and we might see some new names. You know, I always maintain that the best form of training is racing, and you find with some people, once they've stepped up in that environment, not only they surprise themselves and other people, but what I always found was, I mean, you kind of love it or hate it, but when you have that experience, it kind of gives you a little bit of it gave me a bit of a buzz, and I'm like, I want more of that. So when I came home, it kind of pushed me and inspired me to work harder. And the way the pool's set up, I mean, it looks great. If you've never seen it before, it's swimming speed times 1,000. You've got the pool's blacked out. There's amazing graphics that go on the screen, obviously not in real life. The teams come out to pumping disco or club music, I should say. So in between each race, there's club music going on. In between each race, it's probably 30 seconds. So you see a race, bang, another race, another race. So it's constant swimming. There's no gaps. There's no time to breathe, really. It's like race, 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 race. There is a 10-minute break here and there. But from that point of view, if you've never seen swimming before, you have seen swimming before, or not seen the ISL, though, you're gonna be in for a treat, because it is high octane. It's the way swimming should be viewed. They're trying to make it, and they have made it more interesting.
Yeah. And I think, you know, it's going to be great and exciting for those young swimmers who haven't been able to see any competition or even compete themselves this year, and don't know when they're going to next compete. So for a young and up and coming swimmer, you know, for any swimmers or any you know, sort of spectators, it's going to be exciting to watch. How can they watch it? Do you know?
I do know. They can watch it on Eurosport. And if they're in America, which we've got lots of American followers, I know, they can watch it on CBS. It's going to be Australian TV as well, and it will be streamed. I think it will also be streamed on BBC iPlayer, because I know they're taking some of it as well. So there'll be lots of different channels, but I would say the main ones will be, obviously, most people are free for view nowadays, but Eurosport, or look on the BBC iPlayer.
So you yourself are going out for the length of time. What are you going to be doing when you're out there?
Having a holiday, really. Just watching people smash each other up. I'm working for the TV, so first and foremost, I could be commentating on one event or one day, so to speak. I'm working with it. We've got a head. I call him the voice of swimming. There's a guy called Bernie Gunther. He's American. He's got amazing energy, and he's very, very excitable. He's the main anchor man, and then either myself or there's another swimmer, ex-swimmer I should say, that I'm working with, called Rowdy Gaines. He's an American. He won the Olympics on the 100 freestyle in 1984 in Los Angeles. He does all the swimming stuff in America, so he's the voice of American swimming. So between me and him, we'll do the commentating, stroke interviewing swimmers, stroke studio with another presenter we've got called Jenny, who is working on tennis at the moment in the French Open. She's going to be doing the analysis, you know, what goes on behind the scenes. We're going to do some other bits and pieces as well. So I'm kind of in 3 different places.
Brilliant. And just to finish on, it would probably be remiss of us to mention it, because people might be thinking, how are they doing it in the environment that we're in, the pandemic going on? We know there's a big medical protocol that ISL have come up with, and you're all going to follow. So just give a brief, you know, outlay of the security and the safety behind the athletes and those that are there.
So what's happening? First of all, everyone needs to be tested for COVID on several occasions before we jump on planes. That's the Hungarian government said we've got to be tested before we arrive, and then when we arrive we get tested again, which means swab something stuffed up your nose, which is not very pleasant, but that's what you need to do. So they'll test us before we get there. When we get there, all the swimmers are going to be in one hotel, and that'll be their kind of swimming bubble, so to speak. So they'll either go, they'll go from there to train, go from there to compete, and that'll be their bubble. They're going to be on an island, so they'll get an opportunity to mill around and walk around and do some. They'll be doing lots of other stuff. We're kind of in a bubble, so to speak. And then I'm in the sort of broadcast hotel, which is the other side of the river. And in there's about 25, 30 of us, I think. There's probably more, I don't even know. And we do the same thing. We go to and fro from the pool by bus. And unfortunately, in the hotel, I've got a gym. So I'm going to use it as a 6-week training camp. And this could be the start of my comeback for the World Masters in 2021.
Excellent. Oh, you've said it here, right here on your Mark Foster Swim Academy. We are putting that out. Brilliant. Well, it's exciting. It's going to be brilliant. So good luck, and hope everything goes well.
Thank you very much indeed.